Good day, my dear colleagues. My name is Toktанова Асель. I am a doctor of philosophy at Жетісу University named after Илья Шамсыгуров. I have been working in the field of education for more than 18 years. During my scientific and pedagogical career, I have been researching issues of modern leadership, strategies, self-assessment, self-management, and reflection in the education section. So this course is called Improving the Professional Competence of English Teachers. So the first module, the next, regulatory and socio-educational. And next, we will speak about the main regulatory and legal acts regulating the activities of secondary education teachers. So the goal of this lecture is to comprehensively familiarize the audience with the main regulatory and legal documents regulating the professional activities of teachers, explain their content and main provisions, as well as reveal their significance in the educational process. The objectives are as follows. Study the content of the main laws and regulatory documents regulating the activities of teachers. Analyze the professional rights, duties, and restrictions on the activities of teachers. Explain the norms of pedagogical ethics, the salary system, and incentive mechanisms. Familiarize with qualification requirements, mentoring conditions, and other rules related to professional status. Consider the work order of educational organizations and the duties of teachers. Analyze the requirements of state, compulsory educational standards for content, learning load, and expected results. Explain the structure, goals, objectives, and planning features of modern curricula. Master the procedure and forms of registration of mandatory documents maintained by teachers. Study the procedures for current, intermediate, and final assessment of students and the principles for their implementation. So, expected results. Students master the main regulatory legal acts regulating the activities of teachers and understand their role in the educational process. Form a clear understanding of the rights, obligations, and restrictions established by law and are able to apply them in practice. Know the principles of pedagogical ethics, remuneration system, types of incentive and career growth, opportunities. Master the qualification requirements and features of mentoring as well as the legal aspects of the teaching profession. And students are able to organize their professional activities on the basis of regulatory and legal documents. Master the basic rules for organizing the educational process in accordance with standards. Apply the requirements of state standards for content, workloads, and learning outcomes in practice. Analyze the structure of model curricula, determine learning objectives, and carry out long-term planning. Maintain mandatory pedagogical documents in paper and electronic format in accordance with the establishment procedure and forms. Master the procedure for conducting current, intermediate, and final certification. Apply the principles of academic integrity and differentiated learning in practice. So the Module 1, Regulatory and Socio-Pedagogical Foundations. Now we will speak about key regulatory legal acts governing the activities of teachers in secondary vocational education. The purpose of our course is to provide participants with a comprehensive understanding of the main regulatory and legal documents governing the professional activities of educators, to explain their content and key provisions, and to reveal their significance in the educational process. The objectives of this lecture as follows: study the content of the main laws and regulatory documents that govern the work of educators. Analyze the professional rights, duties, and restrictions in educators' activities. Explain the norms of pedagogical ethics, the remuneration system, and mechanisms for labor incentives. Become familiar with qualification requirements, conditions of mentorship, and other regulations related to professional status. Review the operational procedures of educational institutions and the responsibilities of educators. Analyze the requirements of state compulsory education standards regarding content, workloads, and expected learning outcomes. Clarify the structure, purpose, objectives, and specific features of planning in standard curricula. Master the procedures and formats for maintaining mandatory documentation carried out by educators. Study the procedures for conducting current, midterm, and final assessment of students, as well as the rules for their implementation. Expected outcomes are as follows. Upon completion, participants will possess knowledge of the main regulatory and legal acts governing the work of educators and understand their role in the educational process. Develop a clear understanding of the rights, duties, and restrictions established by legislation and be able to apply them in practice. Know the principles of pedagogical ethics, the remuneration system, types of incentives, and opportunities for career growth. Be familiar with qualification requirements, the specifics of mentorship, and the legal aspects of the teaching profession. Be able to organize their professional activities based on regulatory and legal documents. Possess key rules for organizing their educational process in accordance with standards. Apply in practice the requirements of state standards regarding content, workloads, and learning outcomes. Be able to analyze the structure of standard curricula, define learning objectives, and carry out long-term planning. Maintain mandatory pedagogical documentation in paper and electronic formats in accordance with established procedures. Thank you for giving your time. I'm looking forward to working with you all the time. Thank you very much.